Ah, meu Deus. Tá bom, Kate, eu vou ver anime, tá? Dor de cabeça por quê? É que café é ruim, né? Mas assim, minha opinião impopular. Ah, descobri. Uma rosa azul. Ah, ainda me fala que eu caí do barco, parça. Ah, mano, eu caí do barco, parça. Eu tô falando que esse barco é foda. É sério, eu teleportei. Não sei, o jogo não tá abrindo. Ah, nossa, eu tô no quinto inferno. que eu tô?
Puxei já. Nossa, ele embaixo tá, velho.
Ai, nasci embaixo da água.
Pera aí, pera aí. Soltar
Não
aqui.
consegui nascer dentro do bar.
É, pronto.
Nasci dentro do bar.
Papo é da porra. Eu botei um máximo para colocar de com a vela. Vou botar 500% nesse. No Switch, os caras corriam dentro daquele bot lá do próprio jogo, né? O Kirk, sei lá, aí os caras faziam tipo um bot com um bafo ele poder ir rápido, bater mais rápido.
Yoho, yoho,
Tá me ouvindo?
uma garrafa de rum. Tô te ouvindo, você tá me ouvindo?
Eu não falei, tem aquele bafo, o cara, aquele bafo na moto todo.
Aham, eu ouvi o que você falou. Só não sei o que tem mesmo.
Porque tem um bafo de pique, tá ligado? Um bafo de pique na moto dele.
É, eu sei.
Acho que vai ser uma embarcação de mod.
Podia ser melhor, né? Essa embarcação aqui. Você tá indo pra onde exatamente?
Vai cá. Vai quebrando, né?
Ai, não sei.
Mas é mais rápido eu voar e levar o barco, né? Porque eu vou super meio, né? Tá.
Eu nem sei onde você pingou.
Caralho, gente, não tá no pau.
Tem um buff que faz isso, né? Ah, mas daí você vai cheatar tudo nessa porra também? É, ué, esse jogo é assim. Infelizmente. Imagina, a gente teve que ir no remo aí.
Se você programar o vento na vida real, ele muda de direção. Vamos.
Você me deu. Ai, olha, eu vou jogar o pacote da bolacha aqui fora e já volto, tá? Deixa eu só eu jogando. Eu acho que eu vou umas 4 horas, lá para umas 4, 4:30, assim, eu vou ter que sair com a minha mãe. É, minha mãe tá me mandando mensagem aqui. Acho que dá pra umas 4 horas, 5 horas eu vou sair com ela.
Ela botou um tanto de portal, parece.
Você vai fazer um portal em cima desse barco, viado. Você tem certeza mesmo do que tá fazendo, mano? Você não quer, tipo, construir uma base na Terra Firme?
Não, a base eu vou fazer, né? Pra voltar pro barco, né? Vai ter que transformar no barco.
Ah, sim, mas como portal principal, aí você pode mesmo.
Mano do céu, cara. Eu voltou no canto muito do surf mesmo. Eu quero poder spawnar o surf mesmo. Pera aí. Aqui tá fundo. Aqui tá fundo.
Mano,
Só que o barco é muito metal. É isso.
você só rouba.
Tô vendo a viagem em terceira pessoa aqui, pô. Esse aqui eu não consigo mudar, velho. Bota. É pra mudar a cor, mas mudar.
Ai, minhas costas.
Bota mais de uma cor na vela também.
Acho que eu vou continuar vendo meu anime enquanto você chita.
Então, eu tô só fundo na vela aqui. A vela do jogo mesmo.
Você só tá voando.
Ah, mas eu posso voar, só que aí.
Hum.
Ele não
É,
pode voar. Vou
e eu
pegar
posso
agora.
ficar AFK. Tchau.
Ele tá quase chegando nele já. Mas ele tá tocando aqui. Looking for one. Pô, tá tudo mal.
É, ainda não, porque eu tô com um lequinha que eu não posso aí saber. Eu tô tentando pegar de médica ou e aí eu vou só conseguir sacar a carta do cartão. E aí,
que foi que você disse?
Dá uma vida do lado dela.
Ah, então, não sei onde você vai, então enquanto isso eu vou jogar uma partida de FPS.
Eu tô indo pra cá, pô. Olha o mapa, tem que liberar 4 minutos. Estou fazendo esse planejamento de cartografia. Você vai ver onde é que eu tô indo. Indo pra cá, ó.
Ah, não, a mesa não adicionou nada não.
A gente tem que ficar no meio. Ó, tem pra desenhar também. Tem que ficar no meio.
Ah, tá, tá, entendi. Não, mas ainda não. Ah,
Tá,
enfim, né?
você tem que marcar o mesmo que cartografia no mapa. Você tem que marcar, senão que vai aparecer. É a opção que você tem que marcar o mesmo que cartografia.
Ah, tá. Agora eu acho que eu consegui ver o caminho que você fez pra poder me achar.
Tá aparecendo o caminho do lugar que tem pra cima.
É, parece que eu fui pingando, né?
Fica brilhando pra lá.
Como se fosse uma pedrinha arremessada.
Para preparar em médico, para ver um guarda de limão que está
Feitos únicos.
portal. Um pouco lá, cara. Você pode bugar as coisas no bar para investigar. Chega na ilha. Um baú.
Ah, ah, legal. Que ideia é aquela mesmo? Ancião? Que ancião? Ah, finalmente a gente vai enfrentar alguma coisa?
Não, não pode ser. Eu quero fazer uma submissão do gráfico, né? Porque você comprou uma tanque. Uma tanque. Ah, esse aqui é o crack.
Porra, o que você tá fazendo aí?
Eu bati na ilha. Eu tô tirando da ilha.
Nossa,
barco tem que ficar meio metro da potência de pegar o barco de cima.
Vixe.
Aí. O barco pequeno aqui no meio. Não tô chegando é nada, agora do meio, peraí.
É, se você continuar indo reto, eu acho que dá certo.
Não tô chegando nada, mano.
Só seguir reto.
Eu vim lá no barco, peraí.
É, acho que agora você saiu da
Eu
terra.
saí da pedaço de coisa. Tem que estar usando um barco menor. Esse barco aqui você não pode cair, não pode
Ah,
cair nesse teto, não. Vai mexer com essa casa. Se ficar perto do Lucas,
Ah, não, você faz assim. Pode pegar e me entrega o dinheiro. Eu repasso pro meu irmão, tá bom? Obrigado, viu? Aí o dia que você puder, você já me fala que eu passo lá e pego.
nossa, eu vou dormir. Tá no escuro, não vendo nada. Deixa.
Combinado, tá bom? Aí amanhã, eu vou horário de pegar, eu pego, tá bom? Valeu.
pera aí, Cake.
Não tô enxergando nada, nada. Tá preto.
Ué, peraí. Tava respondendo o dono da casa. Que é o aluguel. Vou ser despejado. Não, zoeira, tô brincando. Não vou ser despejado, não. É, eu tenho que sacar, né, mano? Ué, não tá amanhecendo? Por que você tá dormindo se tá amanhecendo? Hã? Tá amanhecendo, por que você tá dormindo? O jogo tá falando que eu não posso dormir. Ah, foi o que eu disse. Tava de manhã. Eu entendi que você tava deitado.
Não, ele tava no meio dele. Ele tá meio
E
velho.
eu estava conversando com o dono da casa. Como eu disse, eu acho que você não ouviu.
Não, mano, eu vou ver essa barra aqui. Tá aqui, ó.
Ah, é, transformações rochosas proeminentes. Será que eu consigo nadar até lá? Acho que não. Acho que é muito longe. Oxe, por que que você digitou? Por que que você não falou que vai fazer o bot? Até.
Peraí. Deixa eu montar um botão. Vou botar tudo aqui.
Esse portal vai pra onde?
Não, isso aqui vai pra lugar nenhum.
Se eu entrar nele.
Não vai pra lugar nenhum, porque não tem saída.
Eu tô vendo que esse portal vai sair voando.
Se é 20 é 10 é prego.
É o quê?
Prego, eu acho. Não, meio. Ah, cara, apareceu.
Ai, socorro, eu tô morrendo.
Afundou, foi?
É zoeira. Eu tô tentando arrumar minha tocha, mas eu não tô conseguindo. Será que ela quebrou?
Não pode.
Onde que arruma a tocha mesmo? Não é na Forge? Ou eu tenho que jogar ela fora?
Posso ir pra fazer várias.
Pois é, eu vou fazer um pouquinho fora.
Quanto prego aqui? Quanto prego aqui? Vou fazer o carne. Tô fazendo carne lá.
Ai, que ódio, meu pão tudo vazio.
Senão vai tudo vazio. Ah, lá. Vai ter quanto conteúdo para sua vida. Para não ter esse máquina
Ah, de magia?
essa
Pois é.
essa máquina nova em mim.
Não tem nenhum mais atualizado, não, mano? Ah, que pena. Até que eu te odeio. que é do jogo, né?
É porque o mod ele pega muita ficha ao invés do bar.
Confesso que ver esse bar tá uma merda. Ai, que ótimo. Ih, ih, travei. Cara, acho que eu caí.
Travei também. Eu acho que tem uma dica do livro, tá bom, sei lá.
Ih, tem.
Ó, o professor tá dizendo, falou 2 números de 2,
Ai. Então, acho que eu vou comer um pão com ovo ali. Comer um pão.
não ainda.
Não, eu comi. Só que, tipo assim, o jogo não voltou. Não vou comer mais, porque dá vontade de comer mais. O jogo voltou pra você?
Não, travado.
Ah, então eu vou comer mais. Eu acho que eu vou fazer outro chá também.
And you can also find that section that you will see on the screen here again. Like that is the file, of course, in detailed view, and then you grab sunrise on your hand. Like the illustrator section, the categories of subcategories like here, on the right, you can hear box, and front detail in island, choose an image to look like. Like the illustrator situation, like that, like the show is a door. So you can door into this project, just grab one from the library. The details. Are evidencing. Go. So just setting everybody to find. Welcome to this. Who's really open. So that's fucking my view. Find it. Right. So the feature as well is that the picture. Not this is inside the same shadow. Just tell. You can. Just do it with you. Wait, what? What's that? Detail in. Which has to be enforced. So that one that you just want to have what's good properties will be fine. Just think of the from control some modules to do that with, which is letting them apply those properties, and you can even restrict the control some modules to do that with. From it, you can just apply the properties from the vehicle, or to use it to make them big on the vehicle as well. Choose. Each new indicate is vegan on the section. Right, so this extra bit of complexity that we've been introducing to the model, you can use that to your advantage, depending on what you do. Put some details in values, let them do projects in sections, they might be plan view as well, you don't have to have in sections. You can control the visibility and override the details, so we can override the detail level of the family categories, the visibility graphics override of.
Including the biggest release in time. In this video, I'll be talking about my 10 favorite new features, but we've also created a special guide that explains 36 new features, and we rank them from 1 to 5. The phase demolished equals new. That means that all ceilings that are demolished in a new phase will be selected with this view filter. And here I have the filter with view. I have demolished ceiling. And then the pattern surface override will be selected with this view filter. Equals new. That means that all ceilings that are demolished in a new phase will be selected with this view filter. And here I have the filter with view. And we'll have a solid fill pattern of red. But not the other categories of element though. I could use different filters to customize. If that's where that might be reflected ceiling plan, you can view that the ceiling now has a solid red pattern because it is set to the new phase for demolition. Another case where that might be helpful is if you have multiple phases in your product. Let's add a few here. Red is that not specific here or specific phases of the product. With the new addition, I also now take the first one. This one phase this, two, and we'll use set on top. I'm going to set it and I'm going to hold this and that means, but also for the rooms, use internally to add this, go add into this set in the schedule system. Great. By clicking here, I'm going to click on this icon here to create a new design points. This new revision numbering system is compliant with it.
Ou seja, se eu vou tá? Eu sei que pessoas não levam em consideração o sistema. De forma rápida, né? Eu precisava introduzir no lote, né? Fazer a união. Eu vejo vocês aí agora, tá? Que são as esquadrias. Então eu quero ver se tem turbo, para entender isso aqui.
Tô comendo, mas tô travado ainda. Saiu do jogo? Quê?
Tá? Então beleza, a gente tem também o C obra. O que o C obra caminho esse projeto. Então eu venho aqui em recarregar D e mostro o caminho que ele tá. Eu vou fazer isso aqui rapidinho. Ele tá aqui. Samsung.
Tá bom?
Abrindo aqui.
With walls, the level of detail allows us to be able to see the different layers of material associated. Well, it's something that we're looking at right in Revit. Medium and fine almost always gives you the same level of detail. There are some subtle differences. Medium will sometimes show a minute, less amount of detail. And coarse will present just like we're seeing here in plan view. If you choose fine, zoom in and touch, you'll be able to see each layer of material that make up this wall. This upper edge of the view, but I was really referring to the plan view. That really wasn't affected by that level of detail. Now, I was talking about earlier. all go away. But you still want to be able to see the thicknesses of the walls, or floors, or roof, or any of those kinds of objects. On the other hand, if you want to do enlarged details, true section views where you're going to be defining each layer of material, come down, change it to a fine level of detail, and you'll then be able to see each layer of material, maybe in walls, or this is appropriate as well, in roofs, floors, ceilings, a wide variety of different kinds of Revit objects.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another Revit Proof video. In this video, we're looking at specific detail level when it comes to views and specific elements that you might find in your views. And then even further on, where we can start to change some of those settings. Change the way certain elements look at different detail levels. So we'll say before we jump into it, if at any point in this video you have learned something, or you just like the video, then wouldn't please mind demolishing that like button. It really helps me out so much. We're getting into it now. Again, it's basic template out of the box, Revit 2020, nothing special here. So this should be very consistent with what we're working with. So in the basic floor plan, again, nothing special with this floor plan, but we're going to start to look at detail level. You'll find the detail level at the bottom left of your view, and it shows detail level here. And you've got choices between fine, medium, and coarse. So the basic idea between these is there's the idea being that you want to use a different detail level depending on the type of view that it is. Well, let's say it's a large overall floor plan, it's a big area, but it's bigger, small, doesn't matter. But you're more likely to want to use a medium or coarse setting. And this applies directly to the detail of what is shown in the view. So this is going to be where you're determining what level of detail you're actually seeing in that view. And this doesn't just apply to floor plans, it applies to every single view of Revit, like except detail, actual detailed items, like any sort of annotation, or a 2D view, a 2D sheet, nothing like that. But it does apply to all views that you make. And you'll find it here also is found within templates. You have a view template, I have a view template here. You can actually see the detail level here. It's all the same. It's something else that is carried within the template to determine the detail level of that particular view. So let's start to change the detail level of this particular view and see what happens. And we can then determine what we might want to do and what we want to show, and that's all based on the detail level. So I'm going to zoom in here actually this wall because you're going to see most of the changes within the detail of the wall. And of course it will apply to a lot more elements, and I'll get into that later. But let's first look at it when it comes to this wall. And I've got this set to medium. And now if I change it to coarse, we can see what happens. Well, everything, all the detail of the wall, all the structure of the wall is no longer shown. If I go into the structure of the wall, I can see that all these different materials and components that are built into the wall that we just saw with a detail level of medium. So if I change that back to medium, we can start to see all the different layers of the wall back. And we'll say, we'll actually still see them if I turn thin lines on. You can see them back to coarse. They'll all leave, but for the sake of this, I do want to keep thin lines off so we can see that they'll leave. Going back to medium, you can see I get all of my different wall structures back. And then finally, if I go to fine, you can notice really nothing happens. Well, the difference between medium, fine, and fine in views is, for the most part, like 99% of the time, negligible. I will say now there are specific instances, and it almost depends on certain models that you bring in, because models can be built in certain ways where a piece of it is just no longer displayed within coarse or medium detail, and that you have to go to a fine detail in a particular view for something to be seen and actually viewable. And you might ask, what's the advantage of this? Why do we want to have this? Well, if you have a highly detailed model, or if you have a highly detailed component, it doesn't even have to be a whole model, then you're able to determine what is viewed in a particular view to organize the data, because what you're presenting in a particular view may be very basic. You know, just looking at a floor plan, as detailed as it might be, you just want to look at it on a really basic level, and so having this turned on coarse means I don't see any of the interior walls, structural walls, or something like that. It's real basic. It's like this is the most basic looking floor plan, because I can't really get anything beyond, that is a wall. It's a real basic part of it. Now, if you have a large plan, if you have a detailed view, something section detail, then of course you're probably going to go up to a medium detail. And in that case, you start to actually see the components that are built into the wall. I'll got a section here, so we can see this section. Again, it applies all the same. I've got a section here, I've got my section defaulted coarse. So the second I go to medium, I can see all of the pieces of my wall show up. And if you're making any sort of detail, especially if it's a higher scale, you go to like 1.5, and you can really get the detail here. Now, of course, if I go back to coarse, it's just all gone. You would never do this if you're using the model, and I recommend using the model. If I go to fine, you'll notice there's no difference between fine and medium. It looks all the same. And that's just because the wall is built in a way that we don't see anything change from medium to fine, because all of our detail is showing up in medium. So looking back now at this floor plan, I can see, of course, we go through all the details of this wall, but where does this begin to apply to specific components? Well, let's go into this door. Now this door, if you notice, it doesn't change at all. It hasn't changed. And as I go from coarse to medium, nothing really happens. And that's fine. It's the way that the doors go. But this is just a basic door in Revit. There it is. Nothing special. Then we go into the panel here, and specifically go into the floor plan. You can see all my lines and everything, and these are just lines of the door. But I do want to point this out, in that I can select this line.
Tipo assim, eu não tenho objetivo claro e eu tô caindo na porrada.
I have a medium detail. I want this really be seen. Well, we can actually make that happen. So select really anything here, but specifically this line. I can come up to visibility setting. Here you can see symbolic visibility.
Batendo aleatoriamente.
They only show views parallel to their view. Basically, this is showing the floor plan. Obviously, you know this. But if you look down here, I can see detail level. Great. This may not tell you what it's doing, but what this is actually doing is allowing you to decide where you want to see this particular line. Do I want to see it? Do I want to see it? Do I want to see it? Well, like I said before, maybe I just want to see this line. So I can turn all these off and leave it on mine. Okay, great, nothing happens. What I'm going to do now is load this into my project. I will override it. Look at that. As soon as I load it in the project, it's gone. And that's because I'm in a medium view, a detail level of medium. And I can't say why you want to do this, but as an example, you can really see how it works. And once again, I'm looking at this on fine. And hopefully, this swing of the door, just that basic line, will reappear. And there we go. That is a perfect example of when, not necessarily when, but how you might want to use different levels of medium, fine, coarse, whatever it might be. Now, I'm going to put up a graphic now that will give you a better example of when you might want to use and how you might start to see these different detail levels being used in your project, whether it's a specific view or maybe it's a particular element in this case. Because if you look at this door, they've obviously changed the way that this door swing line appears in different levels of detail. So you can actually change the way a line looks. It's not just a matter of showing, because you can hide a particular line and show a different line altogether in a different detail level. Whereas it actually works with 3D as well. I can simply take the push of the door and put it into a fine detail to where if I don't have a view on fine, I just won't see it at all. And that makes perfect sense. Why would I see it otherwise? And you may not need to see it all. That's not the point. A really detailed model, a really detailed element. The idea is I probably don't need to see every little nut and bolt in on the model that maybe you've done trouble to do that. And so you probably want to have the option of seeing that if you have a really specific elevation that you need to call out and mention very specific details of that door, maybe all the way down to the nuts and bolts, but maybe just showing the push of that door, getting the elevation of that push. And you really only need to see that in a single elevation. You can call it out, and that's where you have that particular view on time. Whereas everywhere else, you don't need to bother yourself or the model with having to deal with displaying that and trying to view that all the time. It's just not worth it. Doesn't make any sense. And you can apply all this in the viewport, and you can see how this all starts to like fuse. I would say as a rule of thumb, I generally live in medium. I try not to refine unless I really need to, because as well as that, a lot of things won't change with refine. It's just kind of not what I'm doing. Anything that's new hasn't changed when I go to medium refine until I've actually changed that door. That's just me. I've never really needed to go refine unless I've made something myself and put it on fine, or found something that I need to import that have to be my detail. The last thing I want to cover is an example where you might want to use a course view. And in my experience, I've used course floor plans, and it's really the only views I've been using like caption course in the entire whole section. I don't have a course, but maybe even not that, but where I've used course pretty successfully is in specifically life safety plans. And I've done that because I'm able to change this hatch or change what you see in the center of this wall based on detail level. And we can see that. Let's go into the wall and type here. And then grab the course scale fill pattern and the course scale fill pattern. Okay, well, by default, you can see there is no course scale fill pattern, which means I have no pattern. So I'm going to give up the list of course. You see nothing. This is what that makes perfect sense because if I go onto the wall type, there's nothing there. Now maybe we want to add something. And the reason I've seen this done before and the way I use it is a lot safer because it might be that this particular wall needs to be fire rated and maybe an hour, 2 hours, whatever it might be. But all this can change based on your scale fill pattern. And the nice thing about this is that you can only see this in course. So I can have these walls that show up wherever I want, however I want, doesn't matter. And the second I change my specific life safety plan, of course, all of a sudden I can see what I need to see from a graphical standpoint, fire rate. How I do this, I don't have a specific hatch for fire rate or anything like that, but I can still go ahead and put it in space cross hatch and see what happens. And the same thing, it also makes red so I can see what happens. So I know, okay, as soon as I do that, it's very clear that this wall is, let's say, fire rating or something like that. There's something that's going on to this wall. It doesn't have to be just fire rating, life safety, anything like that. You can do this really, just be aware that this specific wall is tight wherever it's used. It is in a view that has detail of the course. It's just going to show this really applied to the section of the course. I'll put this back, of course, and there we can see now my scale is ridiculous, but there it is, it's still there. Go back to my other one, I can see it. And as I zoom out, I can see everywhere I have that wall used is also showing up with that course scale fill pattern, and that's great. So that's where I would probably begin to use this. So that's really where I'd start to use that. And honestly, otherwise, I'm not using course. I said it before in this video, I'm not using course unless it's something specific like this, or if I want to have just a real basic floor plan, nothing special. Maybe I'm showing a client a floor plan for the very first time, and I have all these different components built into it because I want to build walls. Normally, I don't want to do linear walls, but I have all these walls built correctly, at least in my mind, from a design standpoint. And maybe I just want to show the client that right now. So you can turn on the course, and you put in fill patterns wherever you want. It's a simple way of doing that. You don't have to do any specific overrides, but there's a number of ways to get different overrides. But this will allow you to avoid having to deal with overrides. Just simply set this by wall type, showing in course floor plan or view, anything like that. So if you have any questions about this detail level, course, medium, fine, leave that in the comment section below. I'd be happy to answer those. If I missed anything, also let me know if you've used these detail levels in a different way. I'm really curious, always looking to learn something about these different detail levels. That will do it for this video. If you did happen to like it, or just you did learn something, because that's kind of the goal here, I want you to learn something. If you wouldn't mind demolishing that like button, it really helps me a lot. Also consider changing the phase of that subscribe button to consistent. That also helps me out so much, and I can't thank you all enough to have. Hope to see you in the next video. Have a wonderful day, and thanks for watching. What's up guys, welcome back to another Reddit video. In this video we're looking at creating a PBR or physically based rendered material really quick. We're trying to do this fast. It's maybe you see an image online and you want to make this material really quick and you need it for a quick presentation. This is something that I've done in the past. I have other ways of making materials now, but if you're a beginner especially and you're just not getting into making materials in Revit, it's a really quick way to, again, quickly make material that's high quality. It's got the physical properties that are available with us in 2020 especially, and it just makes a really good looking material really quickly. If at any point in this video you happen to learn something, or you just happen to like it, please demolish that like button. It helps me out so much. Also consider changing the phase of that subscribe button to existing. That also helps me out very much. So let's get right into it. I'm in just a blank, simple Revit 2020 project, nothing special. I've got a generic floor that we're going to use for our material on to look at.
Oh, hot.
But we first need to, let's at least set up our material. So I'm going to go to materials here, and we've got all of our list of materials, and in previous videos I covered this, but this orange triangle here at the bottom left is telling me that it's a legacy material, meaning that I don't have the ability to use the physically based properties in the appearance tab here with this particular material asset. I need to change this out, so I'm going to first make this new material. And I'm probably going to use some sort of concrete material, so I'm just going to call this concrete for this. And again, you can see that I've got that legacy material, that legacy asset warning placed there. So let's go ahead and close this out. I can close asset, and go up to appearance library, and I can just start scrolling down. We'll eventually see something that does not have one of these. So we start to see, this will work. We've got just asphalt shingles, that's worked. Go ahead and replace that material. And here we can see that we have, of course now it looks like asphalt shingles, but we'll replace all that. We have all these advanced highlights and advanced parameters that we can deal with, which tells me, yes, this is now a physically based rendered material. I do not have my legacy warning there, and then we're good to go. So I'm just going to leave this up here, but I'm going to go and move over to the internet, where I've got our textures, where maybe you're just scrolling along and you see, okay, I need this particular texture. This is where I go for really quick, seamless textures, and it's just textures.com. It used to be called CG textures, but let's say we want a concrete. The nice thing about this website is, once I get in here, maybe we want a floor, is that once you get all the way down, you can specifically type in and select show seamless textures only, which means you're only working with seamless textures. You don't have to go through the process, which can be quite tedious, of actually making it seamless yourself. There's plenty of other videos out there to show you how to make a seamless material within Photoshop. It's not particularly hard, it's just very tedious. But maybe we can scroll down here, and maybe we want something like this. Really, any of these will work because they're seamless materials, but we want something with a little more definition. So maybe we go with something like this. Unfortunately, you're going to have to log into anything more than just a small size, but I have never gone through anything and never paid for anything, so I'm always using these free, small, usually 1024 by 1024 size images. They work just fine. There's really nothing special that we need to go through there. But I'll place this in a folder here. Again, the names don't really matter. But now we're going to go actually to Photoshop. So I'm going to open this file. So I've got my file right there. There's my concrete. I'll open it. And as soon as it opens, we can start to change. And really, we're trying to extract new kinds of maps. So if you remember in Revit, we've got multiple kinds of maps. And you can just place this on, but it's going to look extremely flat. There's not going to be definition. There's not going to be a lot of detail to it. So a lot of things that I like to do, starting off with materials, is just look at the size. A lot of times, this won't have a big impact on anything. If anything else, it might just increase the image size. But I kind of like 2048 as the size, which is basically just doubling the size of my texture. I like putting this at 150. Again, of course, that's going to change the size. So I like this again at 2048. That's fine. Doubling the size essentially. So now I've got a little more definition in that regard. So I will save this out ultimately again as just a base color. So really, what we're working with here is this. If we're talking about quick materials, this image can serve as our base color or our diffuse map, or just that base layer. But if you're working within, I think, any Photoshop after CC, like any Creative Cloud Photoshop, you're going to have this option. You know that you have the option for filter 3D. That means you're using a new version of Photoshop. I think that's after CS6. So you can see here, this can be very helpful for us. I can immediately generate a normal map. And if you remember from previous videos and how we put together a PBR material in Revit, we have the option of putting in a basic height map or bump map, but actually we want to use a normal map because of the higher quality and just the type of map that we're able to use. We can use those in Revit now. It's kind of the point. So I can simply click generate normal map. This is going to take a minute depending on the type of material or the type of image and the size of it. And you'll immediately get this pop-up, and you can start to see what this is doing for us. We've got our normal map populating in the background, but we actually have a lot of different kinds of control here. This is considered it's a 3D map, and now it's like forming the sphere in 3D, and I'm actually able to zoom around and really see what this is looking like in 3D, which is great. And a lot of times what I can do is I can change some of the detail scale here. We can see some of the detail increase or decrease. I'll put that back to 80 because that's really where it was. But a lot of times I'm happy enough with putting this at just the default value. All I really need to do is go to filter 3D, generate normal map, hit OK, and then there we have our normal map. Was that easy or what? So there it is. It looks good. I'm gonna go to File, Save As, and I like to use a PNG because PNGs will allow you to have the smallest size of file without losing any quality. They are the best in that regard. I wouldn't use a JPEG necessarily, but of course you can. It's gonna be hard to tell the difference, but you're likely to have a smaller file with a PNG file. So let's call this concrete_normal. Okay, great. I'll save that, hit OK. I'm actually gonna undo this so we can get back to our base color. And again, I can come back up here to filter 3D, and we can do generate bump or height map. And I'm not necessarily wanting this to be our bump or normal map because we just made a normal map. But I want to use this as our pseudo roughness map. And if you remember from previous videos, the roughness map is basically telling us how rough is the material. Obviously that makes sense. But how rough is this? Is it a metal? Is it something that's smooth? Or is it a concrete metal where it's pretty rough? In this case, it's concrete material, so it's going to look rough, which means it's going to look light, which means it's more rough. So a lot of times what I want to do here is, if I'm trying to create a roughness map, I don't want to this as a bump or height map. I want to decrease the quality. I want this to be a little more sharp. And you can take this as far as you want. You can look at all the different presets here. Maybe you want to do some of these hard lights and get more detail and more rough looking material because of the type of material that it is. So that's probably as far as I would take this. And I hit OK, and like that is a working roughness map. You can always come into the curves and add curves and change things if you want, but the second you do that, you're messing with the material. It's going to change the way it looks. Because the roughness material, the roughness map 2 material, it will affect things differently. So I can again do roughness. We've got our base color, which I'm going to take this again as base color.
Mas que porra é essa?
Now with those 3 files, and we can make our material. Go back and replace some of these materials. The first thing I'm going to do is, obviously you see here our asset is material. I'm not going to replace this because if I were to replace this information in all these maps, I'd essentially be changing this asphalt shingle, and maybe I want to keep that. So in case that you want to keep this, you can simply duplicate it. And so now we can see that 0 again. We don't have any other material with it applied. And we see it you tell me this is a copy, but we're going to call this something else. So maybe we call it concrete. Please name things better than I am, because it definitely helps. Nonetheless, again, concrete. Let's go into the changes from our basic asphalt to our new material. So we've got our map here. I'm going to choose base color for this one. Come into the base color. I want to make sure all these settings look good. The size 10 feet works for now. I'm going to go ahead and click link transforms. Okay, there. We can come into our roughness and do the exact same thing. There's our roughness. We come in here and make sure that we've got 10 feet. We can link our transforms. Perfect. Okay. Finally down to our pump map or our normal map. There's our normal map. But the thing I need to do is make sure that I click this, come in here and change this, because I think the default is height map in this case. Because this is a normal map, we need to tell Revit this is a normal map, and then we want this to be like normal map. As soon as I change that, I have this at 1. So basically just 100% of the depth that it's showing, so I can't define further. So let's leave it at that. When I change that later, we can link transforms, okay. And I'm going to actually remove this map. It's not something you really need to do 90% of the time. Just leave that at white time. So really, we can start to look at our material, and I'm going to go ahead and change this to hue. We can start to see that, no, it's not bad. It looks pretty good. But I don't really care. I really care more what this looks like in this area. Let's walk into this to our core, and I'll get put it on a wall too so we can see it on different surfaces and see what it looks like. Okay, we got concrete. Go ahead and apply this concrete to my core. And we can actually always just type in the name of the material, assuming you typed it correctly, it will accept it.
Ai, isso é a localização do boss. Puta que pariu!
Go ahead and change the material here.
Ah, vai se fuder. Posso quitar?
Okay, there we are. So now, look at 3D. We have our walls and our floor. They're all concrete. Let's go ahead and launch
Tá
Inkscape.
longe pra
See how the
caralho.
material is fair. So we got into Inkscape finally, and here we go.
Ué, você não viu a localização do boss?
Once I zoom in here, obviously you can see there's a decent amount of tiling, and that is too bad. I think what I might do is go ahead and put the size of the material up to, let's say, 20 feet. Just to see that it's a less tiling. So let's go ahead and do that. Come back into Revit, go back to our materials and manage tab. 20 feet might be too much, we're looking like actually at eye level, but nonetheless I want to do this so we can see less tiling. This is a great example of a material being seamless while also not exactly being seamless at the point. But yeah, there we go. We can start to see more of the detail of this like concrete. This is a giant floor, so if I come down here, it looks way too big and just not quite enough for it. So this kind of view, it's starting to look good. You can really see some of the detail that's coming out, and that's all because of that normal map and roughness map. So we can again take some maybe we want to jack up the roughness. Maybe we want to jack up the normal map and really see some extra definition. We can easily do that. So this is simply saying I have 5 times the depth that I've seen previously, and it's probably going to look a bit ridiculous, and it kind of is a little too much, but nonetheless you can really see the definition and the height that's coming out of the normal map and how useful it is. If you looked at previous videos of mine, you've seen the comparison between older materials and those legacy materials and these new physically based rendered materials, and the definition that we get out of these is just amazing. This looks flat, and whereas it does not look flat at all. There's a lot of definition here. So what I do probably was make
Okay, já vai sair?
I'd probably put this more like a 5 foot, and I might even have to go into address some of the seamless parts of this, so it doesn't look like it's tiling so badly. Because there is tiling. There's really no way around that. For any good material, there is tiling. But really good materials, especially even some other ones on this texture website, you can really hardly see any of the tiles. Now, unfortunately, with this one's different, so it is kind of trial and error. Clearly, you can see some of the tiles, and I think it just has a lot to do with some of the more unique features in that material. But there's a lot of definition coming out of this normal map. So this is a very quick and dirty way of getting the material. All we did was go to texture.com, we found this material, we downloaded that, we opened it in Photoshop, clicked a few buttons to create a normal map and a roughness map. You can even skip the roughness map if you want, and you can apply that roughness map globally with the slide between like 0 and 1, or you can use the color. Again, white being completely rough, black being completely smooth, that's up to you. But you could really go away with just using the normal map and the base color map to really quick material. And that's all that Photoshop. You're 2 clicks away from a nice looking normal map. So I hope you enjoyed this video, hope you learned something. If you did, please demolish that like button, it really helps me out a lot. Also, consider changing the face of that subscribe button to existent. That also helps me out so much. All of you have. If you stuck around this video, that's awesome. Thank you very much for that. Hope to see you in the next video. Have a wonderful day. Hey, welcome back to another Revit video. In this video, we're looking at 3D stents. That's very exciting. The extents of 3D. It is, it really is. But first, before we get into it, if anyone you have to learn, just like the video, then please demolish that like button. It really helps me out a lot. Also, please consider changing the face of that subscribe button. It also helps me out so much. So let's get into it. We're talking about 3D stents. The first thing we'll do in this video is define what that is, what we're talking about when we actually say 3D stents. Then we're going to move into setting those stents. We want to define, not only define what they are, but put them in the way that we want them. It's going to be building specific, but having the ability to move the extents where they should be.
Pronto, vamos.
And finally, we can see what that impact has on just some basic floor plan sections, and we'll make sure that we can look going forward. But first, let's define 3D extents. What is 3D extents?
Tem uma porta aqui, vou abrir.
3D extents is basically everything to do with data at levels
vai na
and grids.
frente.
And you'll notice if you've worked in workstream projects, you've got a workset that is created by default called shared level grid. That's created for you. All of those things you have are converted and placed into that workset. The reason of managing them specifically on their own, that is not part of this video. We're not really worried about that. But the idea is, what are we doing with those? And the idea of all of us together, working together, come together, is what creates the 3D extents. So the 3D extents are those levels of grids and the extents that they cover in your model to create your 3D model. Now, the 3D extents that cover, that refer to levels of grids, they don't have anything to do with the model. You can model everything model as you want it with the extents of 3D extents not actually covering the model. You'll start to see why you don't want that to be the case, because a case like that would be if you have a floor plan and you have a giant floor plan, and you have grids that cover like a floor.
E esse bagulho aí de portal você não vai pegar?
The idea is the contractor building up the grids and the levels and everything's these things set in stone is really going to be the key to the success of the modeling project. The idea is that you lock these things down, get them in the right place from really at the beginning of the project as soon as you can, and then move on to actually making sure that they show up correctly on views. So what we're looking at here is just nothing special, basic template, but I've got a bunch of columns here, and the idea is that I don't have a full building, but I have a full building column. So these columns in a way represent a full building because columns and all that structure has to do with the levels of grids and what we're working with. The fact is that we have all of our grids in place over these columns, and the levels are associated as well, and that we can really start to begin to define the extents of everything that we need to when it comes to datums, right? And in this project. So I actually have gone ahead and done the levels myself. It started in 2020. It became very easy. We've got able to do this in 3D, so I can simply select any of these levels. You can see I've got my levels defined here. They're basically 10 feet apart, and you can easily push and pull these levels and define the extent. So what is this doing really well? This is just changing where this level is used and labeled in the project. So for example, if I were to move this level all the way over here, and I have a section that cuts through this portion there, I wouldn't see the level tag for level 1 in this case. And that's just because I moved the extents of that level out of that big view. And so really what we're going for is that we have defined the full extents of building with levels of grid, because that's what's used to build the building. Basically you start at square one, and then you have these grids in a particular place and defined to build every element of your project. So we want to get those levels correctly placed. So I have all these levels placed, and it's covering the extents of this portion of the building. You can imagine this is like an office, and I've got a garage, so I've got 2 separate levels, or 2 separate areas, 2 different structures, whatever. And you can see over here I've got these garage levels, and these garage levels are specifically only covering the garage. The idea is if I cut through just the office, this portion of the building, I would see the garage levels. It would matter, and I would see what levels already make sense all the way through. In that case, I would see the levels. So it's really about defining all of the places and where they are in the project. And the same applies to grid. So if I go to my level 1 project, and this is probably what's going to get me to place. And again, I'll go to 2 so I'm going to make another floor plan level, and let's go ahead and make level 8, for example. I'll go to view, plan views, floor plan, and let's go ahead and make
Aqui
level
ó,
8.
time ele vai voando
And
até o
there's
bar.
level 8.
Claro.
That's great. Now, the first thing we're noticing is that I don't see any grids, and we might ask why is that? Well, the default is that you don't necessarily have grids that are fully expanding throughout your building. Now, if that were the case, that were automatic, there would be no purpose for this video, and the 3D extents would take care of itself basically. But this is not the case. It's something that's more manual, and for good reason, because we want to actually control this. What I want to do is come into level 1, and I'm going to draw a section. I'll draw a section that's across my office and the garage, and then I'll draw another one that is just my garage,
Meu
back
Deus.
at my put that away, you know, put this away. And what we can do is, if I go to this section, we can see there are my grids, and this starts to make a little sense. So if I look at my level 8 here, and if I take my
Ai,
cloud,
caralho,
which is
então
by default,
por que
I don't
não
have
tá
the grids there.
igual?
They're all down here. The 3D extents that are is only like just above 1 2. That is not helpful to us. It's not helpful to us because we want to see them. We want to control them in these levels. We want to see them to see where they are, like I mentioned. So whenever you put grid, you can see that I've got a lot going on. I've got my head, I've got some 3D there, I've got bubbles, I've got above here, above again, 3D.
Caralho, como é difícil tirar em movimento.
Head and tail, the idea is that you have a head on top.
Ai, matei.
Head on open roll.
Eu também gastei umas 7 flechas pra passar.
If I were to push and pull this, I can move all around.
Ai, quase que eu
Move that on half. All the way up half. I'm like, yes, but if I don't have that see grids. And there we go. Now, you also notice now we took care of one of them because I only took care of one section. So let's now go to section 1, same thing. We have the same problem, same thing here. Let's go ahead and pull these all the way up. Now I'm back to level 8. Everybody can see all my grids here, just like I do back to level 1. This is exactly what I would expect. Level 1 looks like level 1. Okay, let's go. Now, this is how this does work. And, hey, stopping here. The fact of the matter is, if we look a little more detail, we can start to see, okay, we've got the garage here on the side, and it only goes up to the 4, 45 feet. And that is absolutely not 90 above. So why in the world would I need a grid that way up here? Well, I don't really. And so the idea is we can start to change the looking. And I would actually change the extents of the grids, not only in this view, but throughout all other views. So if we're looking at this now, I've got my 3D extents, and now maybe we want these 3D extents to not go all the way up. It doesn't make sense. We want 3D extents to connect. Well, if I'm going to move it down, then I move all of them. Just because they're linked together, it makes sense they want to lay together. That's fine. But that's what this lock is. So I can lock this, and I can move this level down. So move this grid down to just above G4. And again, because it's 3D, this is effective. Okay? And now you can see, I really do the same thing with grid lighting here. So we'll simply unlock this and move this down to match level 8. You can see it snap nicely. Level 8, now we'll do the same thing for 10. So we'll go ahead and unlock this and move this down. So this is starting to look good. You can look at the actual blue. Start to understand what's going on. You can see the difference in the level. My grids aren't flying all the way up the top of the building with the rough. It makes sense to do that. That's great. Now we can do the same thing for our other section. Go to our other section. And it's a little more difficult because we've got the garage in front, but you've got the office. And how do we determine what this looks like? Well, let's go back to our level floor plan. And you could do this with both sectional elevations. If you like section A, I'll just use this. I'm going to put my section all the way back here, and then I'm only going to make the extent of this section to be through the garage. It's only be 8 by 10. So now I'm simply isolating the garage in elevation, and so we can clearly see now that this is not what we want things to be. Makes sense. And now the problem here, unfortunately, is that I cannot simply drag these down in 3D and bring them down to this point. Because you have to remember, this grid is not only in this view. Because it's 3D, it's spanning the entire room. And there's no way around it. I can't simply tell a grid to stop at a certain point here and continue on up here. It doesn't work that way. It's just unfortunate. So how would we handle this type of situation? So we saw in the first section, it's very easy. I brought the 3D extents down, they're 3D, and I brought them down. Now, with this here, I am unfortunately not able to do this in 3D, because like I said before, if I bring this down, it's going to bring it down everywhere, and I don't want to do that. So this is where the view, it needs to be specific at this point. So if I'm just looking at the garage below, I'm going to go ahead and make this a medium, so it's clear column. I need to change this from 3D to 2D. So the second I change this from 3D to 2D, you can see that my lock option goes away, and that large bubble is now just a small filled in circle. And I can freely move this down however I want. But you'll also notice this did not affect anything in 3D, because I can still see everything the way it was in 3D. Now if I were to make an actual elevation, which will show this better, make an elevation here, so we can get an idea of what this looks like. So I'll go ahead and make my elevation. So this elevation, it has all of these grids exactly where I left them. In 3D, you can see that. There's, hey, all the way up here past level 10. Whereas if I come into this view, I can see, oh, it's brought down here, and that's because I've changed it to 2D and brought this down. You can even see where it is in 3D because of that actual bubble and the dash line continues. I can do the exact same thing for all of these in view, all these grids in this view. This can be kind of tedious, but this is really unfortunately kind of what we're stuck with, because this is something that's pretty specific. And again, I can't let where a grid is operating in 3D space. It's up to a point, is the way it works. Now, there is something that I can do, and this is where something called propagate extents comes into play. I'm going to get back to the elevation and go back to my floor plans here. I've got my floor plan. Level 1, you can see everything here. We've got all of our columns there. You can see them, and when we go to level 8, now this looks a bit funny, because I am now over the garage, and I am no longer seeing any columns here. In a sense, there's no content here. There's nothing I need to worry about, nothing I need to document. It's just not there. And so, again, I'm stuck with these grids flying all the way out here, just because they're here. In 3D, I don't have any other way of controlling this, because if I were to move these back, I would lose them in my section views. I would not see them the way that I need to see them in 3D. So this is where 2D comes into play. So just like before, I change this from 3D to 2D, and then move this all the way up, where it makes more sense. It makes sense to stop. And you might say, well, we've done this before, but I want to show you the next step. So this is where propagate extents comes into play.
Quase não tem isso, tem que ter já 3 packs.
And this says copies the extents of the appearance of data elements in parallel views. But this is going to allow us to easily make this particular change that we made just in 2D to this grid, and the other one I'm going to go ahead and make a level 9 open, so you can see that here's level 9. And so the difference between level 8 and level 9 is that I have a grid that's literally two different places.
Ah, você tá
This is
dormindo.
level 8, there it is, I manually pulled this
É
back
que se
to
você
the
não
level
fala
9, it's
nada,
still
fica
showing
meio
full extent
difícil.
Okay, that's great. Now, how can I easily make this change, this grid line display exactly like this on level 9? That's the propagate extents command. I can simply click the grid, click propagate extents, and basically saying which of these parallel views would like this particular datum to show up the same way. I want that also on level 9. That's great. Now, I have the other option of choosing 1 and 2. Now, I don't want to choose level 2 or 1 because I have the garage. I want this extended throughout. So I'll choose level 9. I'll hit OK, and I come over to level 9 and see my change. You can see that perfect. Now I'm going to go ahead and make this change for all of them. You can see that it works just the same for any other view, and I can choose multiple grid lines at once and do this in any view. I can choose all 3 of these propagate extents even from level 9 now. I can choose level 8, hit OK, come back to level 8, and I can see it's exactly matched perfect. This is not back in 3D. This is only back in 2D. So in a sense, I come back in 3D. If we could see grids, maybe they've filled the full extent everywhere, except over the garage where I maybe put it down because not the direction of okay, that makes sense. So the idea is that propagate extents is allowing us to manually change the location of all these grid heads wherever I want, grid heads or tails, wherever I want, based on view, all based on the particular floor plan. And really the same works for propagate extents here. I can choose both of these and choose propagate extents here for that new elevation. I come back to this new elevation, you can see that there pulled down. So maybe this turns into an elevation just for the garage. So I would pull this back to just show the garage. And if I see come back to the garage, perfect. I've got this section that is essentially the same looking as this elevation, it's looking the same thing, but I'm able to do the exact same thing of propagating extents in an elevation section or in the floor plan. It's just working with these parallel views. So this is really nice and really helpful for especially larger buildings. We have all these different floor plans that you need to do. You want to make them look consistent. I'm all for that. It makes perfect sense to do that. So I highly recommend using the propagate extents. Because it's very, very important. Now, obviously, be careful where you use that because, like I said, we don't necessarily use that on levels that we want to see the overall floor plan. If I take this grid and I propagate the extents on level 1, I come back to level 1, well, now I'm missing that grid going through the garage. And I absolutely need that in an overall floor plan of level 1 that has the garage. So be cognizant of that and make sure that you're seeing your grids where you need to see them. And basically, you work on a couple of levels, a couple of sections, situations where they are, and you propagate the extents to other views that are similar or parallel, and that need to show the same content. I hope you learn something about 3D extents, what they are, what it is, how to use them, how to really get the idea of what 3D extents can do, and why setting them is very important. If you did learn something, please acknowledge that. Like, it really helps me out so much. Also, please consider changing the phase of that subscribe button. It also helps me out so much. And I thank you all who have. If you stuck around this long in the video, you probably learned a lot, and just can't thank you enough for doing that. I really appreciate it. I sure hope to see you in the next video. Have a wonderful day. Thanks for watching. Hey, welcome back to another Reddit video. This video we're looking at 5 different reasons why an element might be hidden in your view. And like, what do you do? What can you do? I don't know. You can make someone look different. You know, I've been there 1 plus times. I know it's like not know what mine is. One word is not know how to get it back. I'm just going to back one thing. But first, we'll say, have you learned something or just like anything? Please demolish that like button. It really helps me out so much. Also, consider changing the page that subscribe button because it's also so much. Jump right into it now. I've got just basic, really basic things planned.
Ai,
Wall
que
of
ódio.
I've got 5 different sections. Start to look at it. That means elements. We can hide and back. We can do work all that happens with elements. So, number 1. Hidden in view. This is probably the most, it is what it is, simply hidden. You know the shortcut to hide something, then this is another example where you can do that. The shortcut to hide this wall, you know, right click the wall, hide the element, that's it, you also select this element, come up to modify tab, and slide one and hide it that way, which is how we And the first thing you want to do when it comes to finding these elements, and maybe you've got these walls hidden, is simply come down here and choose reveal hidden elements. It's the light bulb here at the bottom of the screen. Once I do that, you can see everything that's hidden will now be highlighted in the same color as the border, this red and magenta color. And you can see these walls here that I just hid, and you can select them, and there's an unhide element there. And just like before, I just select these, right-click them, and then unhide view, and you can see unhide element. Perfect. You know you're in this view if you've got this same red border with this light bulb lit up down here, and if you see revealing elements. So you're simply revealing those hidden elements. That's great. So there's also a shortcut. I guess we can unhide it that way. And we're back
Agora eu
simply
tô.
there's a shortcut for even closing or showing the hidden elements. All the same, we're back to where we were. Again, that's very simple. That is step 1 of just something that's hidden in the view. Now maybe it's also applied to more than just the element, because I can right-click this, I can hide the view, I can hide the category. That means, in fact, every wall that I have in this entire view is now hidden. Now, of course, I can go back to the reveal hidden element, and I can see them all there. And I can right-click this, and now maybe I want to unhide this element. Well, I can't unhide the element, and I can't unhide the element because
Tá bom,
this
vai lá.
element, this particular wall, is hidden by category only. You can see that there. I only have the option to unhide by category. You can also see it here at the top. Instead of unhide element being lit up, I see unhide category, and that's just because that wall was hidden by category. Okay, that's great. Now, I'm going to go into the visibility graphics, and if you have a particular element that's hidden, you're not going to be able to really determine something in the visibility graphics, at least by category. And so, because we're looking at things particularly by category, you can all the way bottom and see that walls, in fact, is turned off. It's hidden by category. So I can simply check that here, hit OK, and now every wall is now back in my view. I don't have any walls hidden. It's not hidden by element or But if you also notice here, if I right-click this and I hide view, you can see there's also a filter. Now, that gets us into step number 2, hidden by filter. Filters are kind of, I'm not going to say that they're necessarily advanced, because they are pretty simple, but it's not something you were actively probably doing if you're just getting off the boat into Revit. So hidden by filter. First, let's simply define what filters are. Filters are a way of selecting an object and then manipulating that object. You can do really any kind of overrides that you want to do with that object. Now, typically what people would do is they make some color, anything like that, anything you would make in visibility graphics. As far as color, anything in here you can do through filters. But on top of that, just like you can in visibility graphics, you can hide specific objects or categories or anything. And we're going to look at that right now. So I've got a filter made, and you can find filters, you can go into view and filters. I've got a couple here, one is called door, and this is particularly looking at doors, the category of doors, and then the specific type name of doors that's equal to 36 by 84. This is a standard Revit template, I'm not doing nothing fancy here, it's just looking at this particular door. Now if I go into this view, and I go into visibility graphics and to apply a filter, you come into visibility graphics, you can see this filter tab. I don't have any filters in this view, but I can add some. I'm going to add this door. I'm going to hit OK. And now I can see that I've got my filter there. And I can hit OK here, and nothing's going to happen. Well, nothing happens there because if I go back to filters in this particular view, I can see the door category, or the door filter is actually visible. I can see it. And I have not applied any sort of overrides or anything here. But something a lot of people do is they'll make filters to hide things. So a lot of times what they'll do is you'll see that you've got a filter applied and this visibility is turned off. And so when I hit OK there, we can see that particular door being a different type is actually hidden. Now I can change this particular door to that type, and we can see what happens. That door is now gone as well, and that's because I changed it to that particular type. It's being filtered out, in this case, by that filter method. Now that's great. Now, you might see this view and realize, okay, I'm missing a door, and what do? Well, it could be a filter in this case. Now, when we toggle over this is where things get a little dicey. If they're not hidden by element or by category, you're unfortunately not going to see them at all. Like, they're not going to be there. And you're going to might kind of wonder if there is actually no door model there, when in fact it is. And that's because it is hidden by filter. Back to the graphics, you have to then realize, okay, this filter is hiding the door. Now, a lot of times, the filter is you'll have to actually edit that filter and see what the filter is doing, what it's filtering out, or what it's hiding, what it's doing. So this is really just something else for us to check. If something is basically, if something's not populated to reveal hidden elements, and if no door is there or should be there, then you might investigate filters that way. Okay, now we look at basic hidden objects hidden in the view. That's pretty simple. Now let's look at work sets. Now this is only going to apply if you're working in a work sharing model, or if you have a model that you have multiple users working in. I obviously do because we can see up here in the top, I have the option of synchronizing this project. Great, that's wonderful. So maybe what we see is we got these two doors or two walls, and they're in different work sets. I've got work set 1, I've got the basic shared level grid, I've got another work set called wall. So maybe when you arrive to the project, you see that, okay, well, you know, there's walls missing here, and there should clearly be walls here. We need to enclose this room. Well, let's see. Let's go ahead and reveal hidden. Once again, because they were not hidden in view or hidden by category, we can't see them. So you're probably wondering, what do I do now? Well, first I check the filters, and then I probably check the work sets. So I can come over to my collaborate work sets, and I can see I've got 3 work sets. In this case, I've got work set 1, which is the default. I've got shared level grid, which is the default. And there's another one called walls. And if you notice here, all the way on the right, it is not visible in all views. That is unchecked. That's great. I can clearly see that. Maybe that's what I'm going to do. So I can check this. And I can go, okay, how do we get our walls? I can inspect these walls and see, all right, what work set is that? Wrong wall. What kind of work set is visible in all views? That's a problem. Now, something else we're going to check is maybe when you go into the work sets, you can see that this is visible in all views. You should see this work set. But you can go visibility graphics. Visibility graphics are transferred from visibility and there or something like that. And just like we have every other override, global setting is visible. And that global setting that we saw in the collaborate tab of work share work sets is reflected exactly right here. In this case, it is visible in all views, but I can have the option of always showing that regardless of that operation being visible or not. But I can also hide this. And again, this is just this view. So in just this view, while still being visible in all other views, this particular work set walls is checked here, but I've turned that off. I've hidden that particular work set in this view, meaning I can't see these walls in this view. So that is number 3. Work sets will also have a check when it comes to actually finding something in a view that's not simply hidden by element or category. Hidden by link. Now this one is interesting because you may not have a lot of control over your links, but you will have control over the visibility of these links in your project. So that's great. Now what do we do here? Well, we're looking at this link, and this is actually the same model that's coming from a different link model. We go to manage links, you can see right there, I just call it Revit link, and it's loaded in, it's great. Now something we can do is, this could be anything. If these walls are no longer there, I could have deleted them, they could actually not be in the link, when I load it in the project, they're not actually there. It could be that I'm looking at another model, and I'm expecting these new walls to be there, but I haven't actually reloaded the model, or consulted or something like that, or I haven't actually received the new model, something could be anything like that. But a lot of these things are actually something we can find within visibility graphics as well. So if I come to visibility graphics and I decide to hide all doors, I can see that all my doors are gone, they're now hidden, and that is regardless of whether you hit this project or within the link, it's hidden as well. Come back to my project here, I can come over to Revit and see my Revit link right there, it's great, but I have display settings. So currently it's set up by host view. That means that every visibility graphics option override anything that I have set up in the host view is visible in the view. So it's going to take all of that on, and in this example I've hidden the doors, and because I've hidden the door and the link is hidden. That's generally the way you want things to work, and that's how you default off of that. But we go into by host view, and this can start to present some confusing circumstances because you might be trying to find that's a link and it's not there, but you have your doors. So what might be the case? Well, I can come into the display settings of Revit link in this particular view and change it to custom. And even without affecting anything, here I can come to the model categories. And again, this is by host view, and you can see that doors is already unchecked because this is by the host view. I can actually change this to custom, and this is no longer it's not going to change from this view. I can override that reflect this view, but I will not have the option to edit it further. But maybe from this link, we actually want to hide the windows. We just don't want to see the window. I can hit OK. I can hit OK again, and the window in this link only is now I have every other window really there seen, but the window is not visible. So maybe you end up seeing, when you first see your link, you see this. The way it is now, you're saying, okay, there's a door missing. How do I see those getting back? You probably first go to hidden. Okay, there's the door, and even there's the window. I can see both. That's great. So now I can back to visibility graphics, and I can check the door, and I can come down here to the window, and I can see, oh, the windows are already checked. This is the only window. Okay. That's great. Now, why is this hidden? What's wrong here? Why did nothing come back? Well, because we applied the overrides to Revit itself, now this goes into custom, and just like before, I can actually come back to the model here, and change the door check. So we're just before I can start seeing things. Yeah, that's not the test. Now, one way to hack out all of that is to simply change the basic tab here, change the custom to what you. This is basically say that if you want to remove that override and actually everything you've done with it, maybe you want to do that. You know, so you can just view, okay, and have it back. You can act manually, or you can act looking at the view. So that is for hidden by link. Now, finally, hidden by design options. Sign off. As well as that, you just press off the logo, and it will bother with. very likely to happen. You will end up trying to find something that you can't see because it's not a design option, something like that. So if I go to the Manage tab and Design Options, I can see that I've got this option called Plane Option. I've got one option that's called Plane. I've got Altered Walls and Boundary Walls, and it sets primary. So whenever you see primary, that means that this is what is displayed globally by default in every single view. Okay, that's great. So what we're looking at is a particular option, Boundary Walls, and that is what we're seeing here. And I can't check or move or select or do anything to any of them here. And you'll know that it's probably either a link or a design option. If I come down to the bottom here, I can choose Exclude Options. Now if I uncheck this, I can now start to select an option. And the reason I might want to do that is to find out which option is out there. And now I have every option there on the left. If I just click on anything here, I would select before I check this out. Okay, that's, I technically do this, but just for clarity, this object, all these objects are boundary walls. Did I design option? Okay, great, that's good enough. Normally I can't select it. But you can do that until I select it. I'll start with that. All I have to do is use this. What you need to do is hide something. Well, that will make it down to the bottom, as well as the design option at the top. I can change my current design option to be any one to any one of these options. Now I can have boundary walls, and I'm actually within this design option. You see everything else that's not in the design option right now. But particularly, everything here is, now it's just like we were selecting before, except now I'm in the design option. I can hide this wall just like absolutely any other thing we talked about in the past. I can hide this by filter, by work set, or anything like that. I can simply hide it and as soon as back to the model, a lot of times what you see is, you know that you've got other walls going on, everything going on, that's set off. If I come back to the primary object, I can see everything here, but maybe what we're looking for is to actually see this. This is just a different design option. So you could actually be looking for this particular floor plan, but it's not design option. And you can also see this. I use this for a couple different types of things. Just model things, normal things, and make a lock down. Maybe what I want to do is set up a blank option and do set this to primary as well. A lot of times I use these stuff like this if I make project or project, a few different additions that have within the main project. Do is probably I would have everything within that mockup in the design option within that option itself, but then also create a separate option that is blank. So we could, this is a great example of that here. Maybe what I've made here is mockup. And if we take this for example, if this is a mockup, 99% of views in my Revit project, I don't want that to be seen. So a lot of times what I would do is I would come back into design options. I would make this blank option set be primary. If I make that primary option, of course I'm going to get a little error, a little warning there, but I'm going to close out and I'm going to see that there's nothing there. And that's because I specifically put nothing in that design option set. There's nothing in the design option that's showing me anything. So within that set is blank with nothing. I've got the second option, which is the alter walls, and then I have the boundary wall. And I can always cycle between them and see them. Okay, but if these are different mockups, for example, I would want this to be hidden. So maybe you're actually trying to add that mockup, and you do as simple as changing from the option to alter up the boundary wall. We're looking at design options, and you can see there's my option set, plane option, and you can see automatic. Whenever you see automatic, just know that it is using the primary option. That's what in primary option I set.
Eu entendi que fez isso. Seu áudio tá meio ruim.
vai vir nessa
but this is every view is set.
então essa pressão pra fora. Sabe aquela
All we basically
vai ter travessa. Só que uma refeição, ó, mais 10,
of course,
dados,
it's really the same thing as this fine force
basta ter uma
force power,
temperatura.
however you look at it. But the thing to be aware of is what the scales are and in order to find the
Que a
force.
fumaça
What is this telling us? It says hide at scale force. This is only referring to the tag or the elevation or section marker, whatever it is. It's only referring to that, not the actual, not everything in the view. Again, maybe we want to not show this elevation marker in this view. And maybe we're looking to find how we find it. Where might it be? Well, it's probably hidden by this option here. And again, we're looking at find force. So if you look at this again, it says hide at scales force. So this elevation tag will be hidden at scales force than 1 inch equals 400 feet.
ela não é
But because of the way this is set up, it is no scale that is coarser than 1 inch equals 400 feet. And that specifically sets it up this way where your elevation is set up of course a scale, so it's not hidden. Obviously, if it were hidden by default, everyone would throw their hands up, flip the tables, and just leave, not forever. But if we want to control this elevation, how do we change it? Well, if we don't want this elevation to be seen in this, what do we have to do? Well, we've got to put and it's
é
set
um
at 180.
mecanismo que vai ser montado pela
Well, we
fumaça.
determine this
E aí você começa a pular pequenas partículas. Então é pequenas partículas que vem com fumaça.
greater than or less than, not greater than or equal to, because I've set this to an 1/8 inch and it's still there. Now, the second I move beyond 1/8 inch into something that's more fine, I'm going to no longer see
Ei,
it.
teleportou?
I'm going to read this again with this view scale in play. It says hide at scales portion and 3/16 of an inch equals foot. What is a scale?
Porque eu tô na água.
3/16 of an inch. In fact, 1/8 is. And so because it's greater than or coarser than 3/16, when I've set that particular
Eu
view
tô no meio do
to be
mar.
hidden at coarser than, I can't see it in the view. That's great. Now, unfortunately, when I come in here and I reveal hidden, it's not seen. I can't see it. I didn't hide elevations. I didn't hide that particular elevation in that view. I hid that through simply being coarser than this scale of this view. And that, this bonus tip has been one of the most confusing things for me because it's one of the things where I know it's there. It's not double up, it's not vertical, it's not really horizontal. It's not, where the heck is it? If it is a section or a elevation, this could be wrong. It could be wrong. Simple. That is simply be hidden because it's not coarser than the scale of the
Provocado
view.
pela
And
contração do
I've been using this a lot, particularly because
Tá lá,
the filters that I've
ela
seen,
começa
I'm going to from scratch. Make a new filter, call this use, not on sheets. So it's going to be not on sheets.
aí você tem aquele
So I'm going to come down
falho
to call outs,
provocado
elevations.
pela fluidez que já pensa.
So what we want with this filter is if you don't want all these to be visible, then we need to edit this rule. Change this one to sheet name and number four, find the way you sheet number, and it's equal, or is less than or equal to that way.
Que a função
What is this now? It's now saying that the call out elevation section that I have in my view that has a sheet number less than or equal to nothing. Then we can manipulate that number. So in this case, we'll height it, anything like that. But we're good here. We're done with this
Peraí,
filter.
que eu não vi.
Now we're going to this view and actually apply that filter. We're going to come over here, and go over and add, let's go add our view without sheets. And what we probably want to do is turn the visibility off. And as soon as I do that, you can see all those elevation markers go away. And they go away, they're no longer, they never are not sheets at all. Whereas this, remember this one was not filtered. But you actually change the height and scale portion. You get back away from the you can see that that is actually filtered out all these different views that are on. That's great. Now, something to be aware of, if you're using this, using this filter, making this applying this on your templates and all that, that's great, but by default, Reddit will not any view tag or anything like that that is not on a sheet. So don't worry about that. The only reason I would see that this filter is helpful is if you can filter all these filters. There's a lot of places where I see none. Now, if you have this filter applied, and I come up here to elevation, and I want to apply elevation, I can't see the tag. Now, in fact, it's actually there. You can't see it because it's a filter. And I wish the filter would work after I placed it, but it's just the case. It just doesn't work. I'm actually able to place this here, but you'll see I get a warning here that says none of the print elements are visible. That's because it's filtered. And that's just that. If I come back and I just simply turn this toggle on visibility, I can see that there's an elevation right there. That's great. So I'm going to undo that.
Aí
We'll
você
get back
tem
to our filter screen. Now, technically, this is all fine. It'll work this way. But it just means that you want to place your
Meu
elevation
Deus, é
in
mais
views that
difícil
either
largar a
don't filter quietly
nicotina do
or
que
have
largar o
then
crack.
view again. So a lot of times what I like to do is, if I see those filters being used in my project, I like to leave them as they are, except I'll make them visible, but just simply half them. And this, it does serve to declutter things a bit, but I can still see what the views are there. I can still begin to place another view if I want to. Everything is still there, it's just a little less cluttered because everything that's not on the sheet is happening. So all of that is preferable. If you want to do, don't. That was an entire bonus tip we looked at. This particular call out, hiding this in a scale portion of the view, that is one definite reason why you might see some elevation section or call out tag being just vanished, seemingly vanished from the view, when they're actually there. And it could be because of that. So be sure to check where your flip tables are set. Because believe me, I've done some tables for years because I've not checked hide scale portions. It's very important to do that. I have a particular article that deals with this subject, exactly what things we can do, where are they, what can I do about it. It's got a list of 33 different reasons why you might have an element that you can't see in the view or that it's hidden or something like that. So I would highly encourage you to check that out. I will leave a link to that article in the description below. Be sure to check that out. I specifically did not cover all 33. I wanted to cover something more broad, cover more general circumstances where that article takes care of all the fine details and really specific reasons why you might have one element that you can't see in a certain situation. All these different things to check. Look for that in the description below. So I hope you enjoyed this video. In this video, we looked at 5 different distinct ways that you might have some elements that are hidden in the view and you want to find them, or you maybe want to just hide them in a particular way. We also covered a bonus tip looking at tags, all the different elevation section color tags, and why they might be used. There's a special filter that goes with that as well. If you enjoyed this video, or really if you learned something, I hope you did, please demolish that like button. It really helps me out so much. Also, consider changing the page that subscribe button to existing as well. That also does help me. Please leave any comments or questions you have in the comment section below. I will be sure to get to all of those. Because I know this can be a confusing subject. You might have a very specific set of things that you're working with that you look at a bit different. So I can handle all those there, and I'm happy to. I hope to see you in the next video. Wonderful day. Thanks. another video. In this video, we're going to look at the perfect, absolute most perfect finish schedule ever. Before we get into it, if at any point in this video you happen to learn something or just like what's going on, if you wouldn't mind demolishing that like button, really helps me out. Also, what helps me, change the face of that subscribe button to existing if you like this kind of content. Feel free to subscribe, come back for more, really appreciate that. So let's get into it. We're trying to create the perfect finish schedule. By perfect, I mean it has all the content that you would need to finish schedule. And this applies to interior or exterior materials. I'm going to be combining that into one finish schedule. It's very simple to split that into an interior or exterior finish schedule if you like. I'll cover that at the beginning of the video. But I will say finally, this is, in my opinion, the perfect finish schedule because it does cover the content that I need in this material for a project. There's a lot of ways you can organize this, a lot of ways you can display this, and show this in your documents. That is all up to you. But I want to show you how I do it, how I might recommend someone if you're trying to build your own website. So I'm in just a basic template out of Revit, and I've thrown together this quick floor plan, and I don't have any materials applied. I've got some basic materials in the Manage tab, and materials here. I don't have anything specific, but all these just basically named materials. There's no information in them. We're going to cover all that in just a second, but besides this, there's no materials applied. You can see that in 3D. It's all one big gray mass. There's really nothing here to look at. It's just the house. It's all gray. There's no materials. If I go to realistic, you can see no materials. It's all gray. Okay, so here's the finish schedule, and I'm going to go over how I built this and everything with all the different parameters, information, all that in just a second. But remember, you can press Control and you can scroll in to increase, zoom in or zoom out the schedules now. Makes it really nice for viewing purposes, of course. So we're looking at the finish schedule. Let's simply take what we see here and go into the fields. And of course, these fields are going to line up exactly with what we see here. And you'll notice also that they're all material types. Materials, this makes sense. You might notice that there's a couple of different names here that aren't necessarily defaults, and if they're not default, for example, finish type, vision, or non, those are considered defaults. So I've got a separate video in project parameters, creating those, and it's very easy to do for materials. I'll show that with cards now. Go check that out if you want to see that, learn how to make project parameters. But it's as simple as making them, and then you'll actually be able to see them populated here in all these different material parameters, and then pull them over and you can apply those to your finish schedule. And the same as what you see here in the fields in the schedule, you actually have access to all of this information in the material itself. And I would almost recommend building all the data for the materials right on the material itself, and not necessarily on the finish schedule. And I say that just because it makes sense to build the information that's applying to the material on the material. That's personal preference of mine, it just seems to make no sense. So the order here matters just as much as that we see the order laid out here. It's the same, essentially, but things start to get a little more different when we get into filters. Honestly, it is actually simple in that I'm looking for a mark value that's greater than nothing, which means if I have any material in my entire project that has a mark value, and it's applied to some kind of element in my project, it's going to be applied to the finish schedule. Now, I say that, the asterisk I want to put on that is there are a few different system components in Revit that do not take materials that apply to them and put them on the finish schedule. So if I were to put a material on a railing, a profile, a sweep, those types of profiles, while of course they'll carry the material, they'll show that, they'll have all of that data in the element itself, and they'll show the material correctly and everything, that will not populate on the finish schedule. That's just because of how Revit is reading from the types of materials applied to the objects that are considered profiles. So be aware of that. If the only place you have a specific metal in your project is on a railing or something profile-based, note that it will not show the finish schedule. And I only know this because I've driven myself crazy trying to find materials in the finish schedule, knowing I have to apply to a certain profile. Where they are, why not showing up, that's exactly why. You'll have to go to the process of painting a random wall, or painting the bottom of a floor, or putting an object under your building, something like that. So that was a long way of saying any material that has a mark value, it's number, anything at all, that is applied to an object, an element will show up in the finish schedule. And that makes it pretty simple. That just says you need to apply a mark to the object and apply the material. And the idea is that it's something that you want to step, because if we didn't have this filter, every single material in the entire materials dialog would show up, and we don't want that. We only want, assuming they're applied elements, of course. We might have 20 elements that have materials, but we only really care about 5 of them. In this case, we want to scan 5 of them, so we want to go to the extra trouble, which is not really trouble. We don't want to take the extra step of having a mark value, organize our schedule, and keep control. The idea is that we have full control of our finish schedule at all times. So finally into sorting and grouping. This is a little more complex, but it's not. So I've got a material finish. I'm first sorting. And material finish is another way. This is actually a project parameter that I've created, but this is another way of saying what type of material is it. And you can put this information in anything. I've decided to make my own parameter to use, and so it's not necessarily in the default material data, but I want to be able to add myself organize it this way and call it finish type, because it's actually the type of material. I want to first sort by the type of material, and I want to make this a header, so this will be the header of all those types of materials. I can have all of those types of materials underneath that header, and I went ahead and added a blank line for that, so I can further separate the different types of materials in the project, and so the finish schedule itself is more organized. And from there, I'm then sorting by the mark value. So you might have a concrete 1, concrete 2, 3. I want those to show up in order under the finish type concrete as C1, C2, C3. So and that's really it. You can feel free to add more. You can filter things in or out if you want to add more filters. Finally, formatting. There's not a whole lot here. This is kind of up to you if you want to go the extra mile and add colors, bold, and fonts and everything like that. I've really kept everything normal, except I bolded the headers, that's not a big deal. I have revision hidden by default, and I'll show you just what that is later on in the video, but I'll leave that hidden for now. The rest is self-explanatory. It's exactly what you see here. Of course, this is where you can also rename what they might be. And finally, for the appearance tab, I haven't messed with any of that at all. So you can change some of the sizes of the fonts or anything like that if you want. I haven't gone to the trouble doing that, and I would advise you not to, unless you really, really want to. So at this point, let's go ahead and add some materials and start to see them populate in our finish schedule. So let's go back to our floor plan, and I'm going to select this floor, and we can just go to the floor and see, there's actually concrete applied to it. So I've got my concrete, and at this point, I want to look at adding my mark. So let's go ahead and add our C-1, or our concrete 1. So this will automatically populate into our finish schedule, and as soon as I hit apply, you can see that it will. Let's go to finish schedule. We can see there's my C1. That's right, I have no other information in there. So let's start to add some of that. Go back to manage materials. I'm in my concrete identity, and so you can see here, a lot of these are pulled into the fields, but also at the same time, a lot of them are pulled from these different material parameters. And you can see all of these different parameters I can fill out. It's all text. It's nothing special. But at this point, I really care most about the finish type, and I care about the finish type because it's going to determine where this particular material is sorted. So let's go ahead and call this concrete, because that makes sense. And I'll hit OK. As soon as I do that, you can see that we have our organization set up as concrete. And maybe what I want to do is I'll rename this to concrete 1. I know, please name your materials better than I am. This is purely for example purposes, and I would absolutely not name my materials this way in a real project, because this would drive me crazy, much less everyone else. So I've seen a lot of people use description as the type of material, and instead of creating a private parameter called finish type, they use description. That works absolutely fine. You just have to know that you're doing that, and everyone needs to know that. I went ahead and created a finish type so me and the users know exactly what it is and what it's used for, and just leave description. Okay, concrete 1, concrete 2. Let's go ahead and make this C-2, and again I need to go back into my material parameters and finish type concrete, okay, and now we need to actually apply this to our building. So let's go in here, and I'll make this wall concrete. Come into here, let's go ahead and make the finish of this wall that concrete, just for the heck of it. Got that concrete 2, okay, great. Come back into the finish schedule, and there we go, we got our concrete 1 and 2. So let's go ahead and add a few more materials in our project, maybe some wood. We can start seeing what this looks like in our finish schedule. So look at this wall, let's go ahead and make this exterior finish of wood. Go ahead and create a wood 1. Call this WD1, and come back into our material parameters and give it a finish type of wood. And I want to actually make a few of these so we can see what they look like. And you'll notice as soon as I duplicate this, I've got wood 2, that the mark value is no longer there. And Revit does this on purpose, so you don't automatically have two different materials with the same mark value. Now, if I wanted to, I could actually make WD1 the mark value of WD2. The reason I would do that is if I have the same looking wood, or it's actually the same physical material and it just looks the same. So use that if you need to, but just notice you're going to get an error from Revit when you do that. I don't need to do that because I'm just going to call these different wood materials themselves. You can give this another wood, and then finally I'm going to duplicate this one more time, so I have 3 to work with, and then we can do WD3. Go there. Okay, now let's apply our wood there. You can actually change the text there. If I want wood 1 to be there on the outside, let's go ahead and put wood 1 on the wood 3 on the interior there. And now maybe I want this particular wood to be the interior of this wall. We'll call this one wood 2. Now we've got all 3 of our woods that will show up in our finish schedule. Now this one obviously is missing something. I need to go back and make sure that I have that finish type filled out correctly for WD3. There we go. I just simply change that to wood. Okay, and that works out correctly. Now I like to show you the striped rows so we can see that it's just better organized. You can read down the row a little better. So at this point, we've done everything that we need to do with material as far as organizing, setting it up, and finish schedule. But the only left is just adding more data. And now these are just example materials. I don't have real manufacturer or style data, sizes, or anything like that. But you can get the idea of the type of information that we want to put in the material schedule. Obviously, if you don't want to put a contact person, their phone number, or anything like that, that's great. I like to go ahead and do that because it makes sense. You're not the only one who's looking at this information, and it's really for the contractor's benefit that you add this information for them. Also, putting a generic location of where this material is used in the project is always helpful. It's always nice to see once you get a really long list of materials here, where's this particular wood? Now maybe you didn't make all these wood materials, but you didn't know where they are. Well, that's a good place to look. And unfortunately, it does rely on people filling this out because all this is text information. There's not a lot here that you want to try and automate. Obviously, if you put like areas and calculate costs and all that, you can. I would refrain from doing that just because you're going to basically dig yourself a hole that you're going to get out of because specifying or saying that this material takes up this amount of area, like it's just let the contractor take care of that. That's their job. So at this point, there's not a lot left to do besides just fill in this data, and it's really simple. We found through the organization of creating a finish schedule. The last thing I wanted to do was show you if you wanted to create an interior versus exterior finish schedule, what that might look like, what the process would be. I am personally a big fan of creating a universal finish schedule that includes both interior and exterior schedules on materials because it's one project. Generally speaking, you're probably just documenting one project, of course, and all these materials are going to be on the job, going to be on the project. And a lot of times, I was actually sold on creating one finish schedule for the project. I mean, you have the same material inside and out. Now you can still do it. You have a finish schedule that is interior and exterior. You're going to have the same material simply duplicated and placed in both schedules. Again, not the end of the world, but it's an advantage because you have to actually duplicate that material, give it a different name and everything. So let's go ahead and take this finish schedule and break it up as if some of these materials are going to be inside and outside. So for this example, let's say we've got concrete 1 that's going outside and wood 1 that's going outside, and all the other materials are going to be inside. So for the sake of this, I'm going to go ahead and call this exterior finish schedule. Okay. So the idea here is that everything is all exterior. Now we need to find a way to get rid of certain materials that are not considered interior in some because we don't want them. This is the exterior. What do we do? Well, the best way, the easiest way, I guess, again, there's a million ways you can do this, just how you filter it, is changing the name of these different materials. And I honestly would probably do this in the schedule itself. I would probably, in 90% of other cases, do it in the material because I probably would have made the material knowing this layout exterior versus interior finish schedule kind of thing. So let's go ahead and add changing our name. So all we're doing is looking for a way to change the name of this material. Now we don't want to change the mark obviously, so I would probably come to the material itself. So let's come up to our concrete 1, and we want this to be an exterior. And I like to put underscores just to say that this is part of the project. It goes to the top of the material browser, makes it a little easier.
Tá no barco, tá no
baú.
Da parte de fora,
The name of the material doesn't matter because we're not actually scheduling the name of the material. We're only scheduling the mark value and all the data after that. And so the same goes for wood 1. I want to go ahead and change this name, put my underscore, and then put my EXT for exterior there. That's great. And so now I want to do the same thing for concrete 2 and wood 2 and 3, but except I want to have these be interior. So I'll do my underscore and then INT. Go ahead and copy this, make this a little easier on us. We go to wood 2, do the same thing there. And then finally wood 3. There we go. So I'm going to okay, and then nothing will happen. We're still in our exterior finish schedule, nothing has happened. Because we haven't actually filtered anything out. We need to come to our filter now. And again, we want to keep our mark greater than nothing. And we always want that to be first because that is going to determine what shows up on the finish schedule, regardless of which one it is. But now I also want to come to my material name. And you'll notice I don't have a material name here because I haven't added it in my field. You can only work with the fields you've added if you want to change some filters. So I do actually need to come down here and then go to my material name and add this in. Now I don't care where this is, I'm just put it at the bottom because I'm going to come over here to formatting and then immediately hide it. I don't want to see it ever. I just want to use it as a way to filter. So at this point now I can see, perfect, I see my material name. That's great. And so at this point, I need to say equals something, or any of these. So what are we trying to do? We're trying to isolate only the exterior materials at this point. So I need to find a way of doing that. And we renamed these to include EXT. So let's go ahead and use that. We're going to say start. You can say starts with, contains, it doesn't really matter. Begins with. So let's go ahead and begins with, and we'll do our underscore EXT. Great. So I'm going to hit OK at this point, and there we go. We've got our exterior finish schedule. We've got our concrete, we've got our exterior concrete, and then we've got our exterior wood. Great. So let's come down here to our schedule, and there's our exterior schedule, and let's literally just duplicate it. And then at this point, I'm in my copy here, and let's go ahead and call this the interior. because now we're creating the interior blue schedule from our exterior. And honestly, there's only one thing to do because we've done all the hard work. And we can go to material name begins with INT. Yep, you guessed it, INT. So there we go, we got our interior finish schedule. And so the idea at this point is if I come to my materials and I come to the top, I can see every material that's on the exterior and interior. That's great. Regardless of whether you had it set up with exterior interior, I'd use the underscore because it's nice. But you can clearly see the distinction here and where they all should show up. This makes it so much easier to organize these two schedules if you choose to go that way. And all that you need to do after that is make sure you have the naming convention the same and you have the mark value because they're all based on this filter. So the last thing I want to cover is that revision. So I come to my fields, I go to my formatting, revision, and then unhide that, and I'll hit OK. And the idea here is that this is mainly for the construction administration process, and to save you the trouble of having to cloud the entire row, the entire everything with a material change in construction. So if you have a material change, let's say the color changes to something else, and so you change the color, and yeah, you can cloud the color, that's great, but it's so much easier to just come to this last revision of the color and simply put the X right there. And all this tells the contractor is this material has changed in some way. And of course you need to have a cloud somewhere, so you could say anything like X materials with the revision of X have been updated, something like that, to indicate that this material is updated. You can also just cloud the X there and it makes it very simple. The idea is that the actual content that is changed, is updated, is not being clouded over, not making a mess with the entire finish schedule. It makes it a lot simpler in showing that there's a revision with this material. And again, this is just text-based, it's really simple. It is after you issue it, you just delete it, that's it. And maybe the next revision includes a revision to W3, and that X goes there. It's down the process, it's down the line, it's simple to do. That's just a perfect record. I've seen it have success on many of my projects already, and I like using it a lot. But that will do it for finish schedules. In my opinion, we have created the perfect finish schedule. Again, just my opinion. You see how I've created things. You see that I've used specific project parameters. They're all just text-based. It's very simple. Nothing really fancy here. It's all text you have to add. It's really the organization that will make this successful. And keeping the organization is really the key here. If you enjoy this video or just have learned something from it, please demolish that like button. It really helps me out a lot. Also consider changing the page. That's the trouble with this. All these stuff is so much that you all have. Hope to see you in the next video. If you want to play, thanks for watching. Hey, and welcome back to another Revit video. In this video, we're going to look at design options. They are quite the subject, and I sure hope you stick around for this video. It's going to be a doozy. It's going to be nice and hopefully not too long, but it's going to be long enough because there's a lot to cover with design options. And really, my hope is that this video serves as a complete guide to everything you might need to know and might encounter with design options because they have been used and abused in ways that I've seen that really shouldn't happen. And my hope is that this video will take care of that for you and that you know everything you need to know about design options, feel confident in using them in your professional work. So here we are. I just have this basic floor plan, and we're going to start with implementing design options and just changes in the furniture placements because maybe we have not where we see certain elements in my floor plan just to get a basic idea of what design options are what they do. So before I do any of that, I want to know what it is, what it does, what to expect from it in general. So first, it's in the manager tab. You see design options at the top, and everything else is grayed out. So really, there's nothing we can do except to click on design options here. Once I do that, and we look at what we have in the panel here, we don't have a ton that we can work with right now, especially. So right now, we really only have, we can see that we're highlighting main model, everything else is completely grayed out, and I see option set, and we can click new. So what are we working with here? We only can really select a new option set. So let's go ahead and click the option set and then see what happens. So as soon as I do that, under this navigating main model, I can see I have option set 1, and then I have option, for instance, primary. What is all this? What are we working with at this point? So we have option set 1. And when I click on option set 1, I have more buttons that I can press, more options that I can work with under the option set category here now that I have option set 1. And that's because I'm now navigating option set. But what are we working with? Because now I can rename it, I can accept primary, whatever that is, and then I can delete it, of course. I can use it now. And then below that I have option 1. And this is parentheses primary. And you'll notice that as I click option 1, that the buttons are now, more buttons are usable under this option here. I've got, of course, new. I've got rename, duplicate, and we can go from there. So what is all this? I know I've explained it all finally, but what is this? So option set 1, or in this case option sets, are, imagine that what we're doing here is we're moving this furniture layout around. So we might, this whole option set is what's happening throughout the different options. And then option 1 are my actual options. I'm saying options so much. And because I'm saying so much, I want to do something that unfortunately not enough people do. And it gets not only them, but others who work in the model in trouble. And that is renaming, because it is so imperative to rename. And you don't realize it until you start seeing all of these different option sets and then more options underneath them. And I'm just supposed to know what these are. So I'm actually delete all these, we don't need all of them right now. But we're going to work with just one. And we're going to work with one, and that's easy enough, but I also want to rename it. So I'm going to actually rename this option set to furniture. It's called furniture layout. That makes sense. We're going to change the furniture layout. It's essentially an overarching idea of what works with, in this case, furniture layout. And so we have option 1 here, and this is currently set as our primary. And so this will make it a little more simple in a second. So we're going to have, let's say, 2 different options. We've got this base option, we've got one where we might change the layout a bit. So let's go ahead and make a new option. So as soon as I click new option, it's going to have now having 2 options under my furniture layout. So it starts to make a little more sense. So overall, I'm working with furniture layout, and then everything else under it is option 1, and then option 2, so different layouts. And again, I'm going to tell you, we're definitely want to rename these options. If there's something specific about them, maybe it's like this is turned 90 degrees, or that includes this specific chair, whatever it might be. But for the purposes of this video, I'm not going to rename them because it's just going to be really it's just going to be 2 options. Option A, option B. We can go ahead and do that. I'm just going to rename this to A and then finally B, so I'm not saying option so much. So it's option A and B. And we notice here that A still has primary. So what is primary? Well, primary is it's going to be the primary option. I don't have a better way of explaining it other than that. But what primary means is that primary will be visible in the project by default in every view. And so imagine that.
Mais madeira aí.